Today, we're diving into how green manufacturing is firing up the engine for the next generation of industry. We're talking smarter, cleaner, and way more profitable operations. Let's get right into it. This one sentence really just says it all, doesn't it? It frames this whole idea not as some optional trend, but as the fundamental, logical evolution of how we make things. This is the new baseline for any competitive, modern business. So where do you even start on a journey like this? Well, the very first step is to find the biggest drain on your efficiency, your budget, and the environment. And I'm willing to bet it's probably hiding in plain sight. Just think about it for a second. What's that one thing that's literally everywhere in the shop? It gets on everything, and it costs a small fortune to manage and then eventually get rid of. It might be the lifeblood of your machines, but it's also your biggest headache. Here's a number that'll make your head spin. Way back in 2002, manufacturers in North America burned through over 2 billion gallons of this stuff. 2 billion. And you can bet that market has only gotten bigger since then. Yep, you guessed it. Cutting fluids. They are absolutely essential for cooling, for lubrication, for clearing away chips, but they are also, hands down, the #1 pollutant in most machine shops. They are right at the heart of our green manufacturing challenge. So how exactly does a tank of cutting fluid go bad? Well, it gets contaminated with all kinds of junk. You've got your tramp oil leaking from the machinery, you've got the big stuff like chips and swarf, and then the really fine metal particles. But the real troublemaker, the one that's toughest to manage, it's that last one, microorganisms. Oh yeah, this right here tells the whole story. If you've ever walked into a shop first thing on a Monday morning and been hit with that awful, rotten egg smell, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That is anaerobic bacteria having a party in your coolant sump, and it's the clearest sign you can get that your coolant is in big trouble. Okay, so we've put our finger on the problem. Now let's talk about the solution. And the good news is you don't need to hire some massive consulting firm to get the ball rolling. All you really need is a simple 4-step audit. Now, the official fancy industry term for this whole process is a life cycle assessment, or LCA. It's the standard way to map out the entire environmental footprint of something, from cradle to grave. But don't let that formal definition scare you off. We can break that whole complex thing down into a super simple 4-question health checkup for your shop. First, what are we actually trying to achieve here? Second, what are our inputs and outputs? Energy, water, raw materials. Third, how does all that stuff affect the environment? And finally, the most important one, based on all that, what can we actually change to be more efficient? It's all about making this process doable. All right, let's start with the most obvious place for a big win, the fluids themselves. This is where next-gen technology offers some pretty incredible alternatives. I mean, just look at this comparison. It's a total showdown. On one side, you've got the old-school petroleum-based coolants. They're toxic, a nightmare to dispose of, and they come from a non-renewable source. But on the other side, you've got the next generation, biodegradable fluids made from plants like soy, coconut, or canola. They're renewable, way less toxic, and just so much better for your people and the planet. And here's the real kicker. This is not about sacrificing performance for the sake of being green, not at all. In fact, studies have shown that some of these new vegetable-based oils actually outperform the old petroleum stuff. One study even found that a coconut oil solution was way better at reducing tool wear and improving surface finish. So think about that. It's better for the planet, and it makes better parts. That's a win-win. Okay, now let's get really ambitious. What if we could take an even bigger leap forward? What if we could just get rid of flood coolant altogether? This is where things get really exciting. The first option is dry machining. And yeah, it is exactly what it sounds like. You're cutting metal without any fluid at all. This just completely vaporizes all those costs we've been talking about, buying the fluid, managing it, filtering it, and then paying to haul it away. And the benefits here are just huge. For one, you stop hitting your hot cutting tools with cool fluid, which prevents thermal shock and makes your tools last longer. It's especially great for interrupted cuts, like in milling. When you run with high speeds and feeds, all that heat gets blasted into the chips, which fly away, instead of soaking into your workpiece and causing problems. But look, let's be realistic. Dry machining isn't going to work for every single job. So there's this really powerful middle ground called minimum quantity lubrication, or MQL. Instead of flooding the whole part, MQL uses a tiny, tiny amount of high-quality oil and delivers it as a fine aerosol mist right to the cutting edge, exactly where you need it. With MQL, you still get that crucial lubrication, but your fluid consumption just plummets. Your shop is cleaner, your employees are safer, and your parts come out nearly dry. And this is where it all clicks together, right? MQL is the absolute perfect application for those high-performance, vegetable-based oils we were just talking about. So after making all these changes, switching to smarter fluids, using smarter processes, what's the bottom line? What is the real, tangible payoff for your business? The bottom line is this: green manufacturing is not a cost. It is a massive competitive advantage. You save real money on fluids, on disposal, on maintenance. You save time with cleaner, more efficient processes. You create a safer, healthier workplace for your team, and you build a rock-solid reputation as a forward-thinking, state-of-the-art business that people want to partner with. Which really just brings us to our final question. When you look at your own operations, your own processes, and your own goals for the future, is your business ready for the next generation?